What is your name?
My name is Tony Cavalli.
Okay, and you were a school teacher?
Yes, I was a school teacher.
Where?
Oh, a number of different schools throughout the city. I worked in the Ocean View neighborhood. I worked in the Mission District. I worked at over 100 different schools.
Wow. And
yes.
what were the normal grades that you taught?
I was a primary teacher, and I basically taught first grade and second grade. Sometimes I'd teach third, like a combination 3-4, or kindergarten. But
So do you have something to say to the kids who are, are suffering abuse and stuff in school
yes, speak out. Don't keep that in. It's sort of like you're complying with people that are intimidating you. But if you speak out and say something, you're on the road to fixing the problem because you're dealing with the problem. A number of years ago, I was teaching second grade, and there were some twins that came into the second grade. And one of them came to my class and the other one went next door. At that point they used to split twins up so they could be a little bit more independent, away from each other. And the boy who came to my class was very talented, he's very artistic, and he got along very well with the girls, who at that age seemed to be do very well in language arts. And I liked him. He was a very nice boy. We got along very well, and he was somewhat effeminate, which is here or there. So he went through my class that year. We had a good year, and everything was fine. Now I noticed when I was out on yard duty that his twin brother was quite a bit different than him. Even though they were twins, the twin brother would be hanging around with the boys, and instead of talking and engaging with the girls like my twin would, the other twin would be chasing them aggressively and doing what I would call heterosexual behavior. Being really aggressive with the girls and pushing them to get their attention. Whereas the second grader I had, he would be playing jump rope with them and jacks and talking with them. I could see the behavior was very different. Now time goes on and it's the fourth grade, 2 years later. And they've kept both boys apart. I've noticed that they're in the different third grade and the different fourth grade. Now, it's none of my business anymore. I'm still doing my second grade thing. When suddenly, one day after class, the fourth grade boy that was in my class, that twin, comes up to me and he says, "Can I talk with you?" And I says, "Well, sure you can." He says, "I'm being bullied." And I said, "Well, then you should go to your teacher. I'm not your teacher anymore." And I wasn't dismissing him, but I think he should have gone to his teacher. And he says, "No, this is a problem I want to come to you about." And I said, "Well, what is it?" And he says, "Well, all the boys are starting to tease me. They're calling me fag. They're calling me sissy. And it's getting worse and worse. Day by day it gets worse as more and more of them seem to jump on the bandwagon." I said, "Oh." And then I realized I was the only male teacher on the staff. And I could see why he came to me. So I told him, I says, "Well, I will talk to the principal about this immediately, and we will do something about it." So at the end of the day, I went to the principal and I explained to her the situation. And the next morning, she had all of the boys of the entire fourth grade, both classes, in her office. And they were there for maybe an hour and a half. And I knew she was doing her job. I knew it. And about 2 days later, the boy came to me and he said, "Thank you." He says, "It's stopped." He said, "It's completely stopped and they're leaving me alone." And I says, "Well, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, I'm glad you came to me quickly before it started to simmer. This way we were able to nip it in the bud and change their behavior. Because at this particular time, it was a time in San Francisco's history where the word fag was used throughout the schools. And we were just starting to get input from downtown about kill that word. And then later on we had discussions about that in our school, as did most, I think, all of the schools in the district.
The other twin, was he at all helpful?
Not really. He was caught in a position where at home he was close to his brother, naturally. But he could see the difference as they were getting older. And the big game was to turn him against his brother. And he hadn't done that yet, but he had gotten to the point where he wasn't defending his brother. So he was starting to turn because, are you a fag? You could just see that threat towards the brother who was, I think, heterosexual. Well, no, I'm not. Well, then which side are you on? Because it's us against them. So make your decision now. I mean, you could see that homophobia starting to build. You know how these things can go. Once they start, then his peer group gets used to intimidating him. And I'm sure many gays could tell the story about how when they transferred to another school, there were those guys again, and they would spread that kind of feeling, making school an impossible situation to be in and leading to sometimes disastrous results. None of that should ever happen anywhere, but specifically in San Francisco, it's like a focal point where it was being turned around. And I think that attitude is spread across the country now. Teachers have to take an active role in stopping bullying. If they don't, some children naturally take on that alpha male role, and others, can't stand up to him, and then it begins the cult status where they all start looking up to that person, reinforcing that bullying, that intimidation. It's up to the teacher, the leaders, to stop that child, and let him know he's not making the rules. You have to follow the rules, and everyone is treated fairly. That's a teacher's role.